If you look at what's happening in California with Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein certainly being pushed so far to the left.
MSNBC's Morning Joe is a show that is really good at making my head hurt, especially when they talk about the Democratic Party. Now, I'm going to have 4 different clips to show you here from the same segment where there is a lot of ups and downs. There are some points that are made that I agree with, and then they just go off the deep end. So let me just start with the first clip. This is it's going to begin with Eugene Robinson, who I think makes a good point, and then Joe Scarborough comes in and unnecessarily extends it to identity politics. So let's watch.
You know, if you just look at the voting population and the potential voting population out there, you know, frankly, you just got a lot more Democrats than you got Republicans, a lot more, and I think you got a lot more anti-Trump than you got Trump out there. The question is, who's motivated to vote? And we saw in the special elections and in Virginia and New Jersey this year that progressives were highly motivated to vote, and they delivered some surprises, and that could really be the difference in November.
I mean, you look at the people motivated to vote, it's been women, even Republican women.
And to run.
To go out and vote in Northern Virginia, as we always say. In Alabama, there is so many people motivated, but black voting, the turnout for black voters in Alabama is high as it was during Barack Obama, younger voters.
All right, so Eugene Robinson, I think, makes a great point. The Democratic Party has the opportunity to get a lot of voters. There is more enthusiasm behind the Democratic Party. There are just more Democrats, or I guess more liberals, more progressives in general compared to conservatives. But the issue the Democratic Party always has is getting people enthused to come out and actually vote. So there's a lot of voter apathy on the side of the Democrats because the Democratic Party often, in most cases, doesn't actually fight for the best interests of the people, because just like the Republican Party, they are influenced by their big donors. So that was a good point by Robinson, and how he brings up that progressives came out in special elections. Like he didn't mention this specifically, but it's an extension of what he was saying. Lee Carter, a socialist, won a seat in Virginia. So yeah, I think it's clear that progressives are encouraged to go out and vote when you have socialists winning seats in Virginia. But then this is where it takes a turn. Joe Scarborough comes in and unnecessarily breaks it down through identity politics. So he comes up and is like, yeah, you have women coming out and vote, young people, black people coming out and vote. That isn't really what Eugene Robinson was saying. Eugene was talking about how progressives, people that are interested in policy, they are the ones that were enthused to come out and vote. He wasn't mentioning women or young people who... It's so weird to group all these people together because they all have different interests. Like, they have different motivations that cause them to vote a certain way. Not every woman is voting for a Democrat. Not every young person is voting for a Democrat or a progressive. Not every black person is voting one way. So there is diversity within these groups. And you have, usually people like Joe Scarborough are talking out against identity politics. And that's exactly why I brought this up. Because later on in this clip, not this next clip, but the one after, he's going to sort of contradict himself a bit. But first, let's get to clip 2, where Joe kind of expands a bit on his identity politics idea of how the Democratic Party is working, which I don't completely disagree with, but let's just watch the clip.
Willie, I'm talking to more and more Democratic leaders, Democratic policy people, who are concerned that the Democrats have everything on their side, but they don't have a unifying message.
Right.
And a lot of people that were concerned that Hillary Clinton was going to lose in the Democratic Party are saying they still don't have a message for the common good. It's for this group. You've been treated badly, Group A, and the Democrats are going to take care of you. Group B, you've been treated badly, and this is what we're going to do to take care of you. And Group C, you're being treated badly, and this is what we're. And Group D, and so many Democratic strategists say that if you even talk about how this Democratic Party balkanizes voters instead of reaching and looking for the common good for all Americans, that you're suddenly called a racist or you're attacked and you're shunned from the party.
Yeah.
So a lot of what Joe Scarborough said here, I agree with. The Democratic Party doesn't have a unifying message. And they have been hyper-focused on, very specific social issues, but they don't bring in an overall message that would really benefit everybody and get Democrats or liberal-leaning voters to come out and vote for them. But why does MSNBC never mention what the solution is? They'll assess what the problem is in the Democratic Party, but they'll never bring up what that unifying message could be. Policies that the vast majority of people support, like Medicare for all, like higher taxes on the rich and multinational corporations, like a livable wage, like tuition-free college, like getting big money out of politics. These are issues that would be a unifying message. But because MSNBC is run by a massive corporation, they're not going to focus on those issues. And that's why they never actually offer the solution to the problem, which is a Democratic Party that doesn't know how to get people out to actually vote for them, rather than always voting against the other party. Now, let's get to the next clip here, where things start to get real stupid.
I think it's always been a question of Me Too, Never Again, all these movements we've seen that are all important in their own right can coalesce and collect votes and push people into elected office, or if it's just a movement that changes us culturally but not politically. If you look at what's happening in California with Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein certainly being pushed so far to the left, where Dianne Feinstein is now she's a Donald Trump, George Bush Republican, according to her opponents, and a lot of progressives in California.
Can you even believe that? That Dianne Feinstein, as much as she's given to the Democratic Party, for as long as she has given it to the Democratic Party on the local, state, and national level, is insufficiently liberal for California Democrats.
Identity politics.
It's identity politics. That's all you need to know.
It's going to fracture that party.
I think she said a couple of things over the past year and a half, doing what any responsible senator would do, and desperately trying to find common ground with Republicans. And she's attacked for it.
All right. There was so much stupid in that clip that I had to make a lot of notes because I would forget all of the dumb things that were said. So let's just start. So this whole time, Morning Joe and the panel, Joe, Willie Geist, Mike Barnacle, they are the ones that have been focused on identity politics. In the first clip you had, Morning Joe, in response to Eugene Robinson, who was just talking about progressives are enthused to come out and vote. Joe Scarborough then turns the conversation towards, women, black people, and young people are coming out and voting. Okay, that wasn't what Eugene Robinson was talking about, but okay. And then at the beginning of this clip, you have Willie Geist talking about, can these women's movements get people out to vote? Can they collect enough votes for Democrats to win? Again, why are you so focused on identity politics? And then you have Mike Barnacle, with maybe the dumbest point out of anybody. Dianne Feinstein didn't get the California Democratic Party endorsement from the delegates there because of identity politics. Feinstein is the lady in the race. She was faced off against a man. Those two were the ones on the ballot. There was also a third one, but whatever. Those two, and actually Allison Hartson, who is a true progressive, wasn't on the ballot in that vote for in that convention. But that's a whole other discussion. I discussed a bit about that in my video yesterday. But if we're talking about identity politics, why wouldn't that benefit Dianne Feinstein? I don't even understand the point he's trying to make. And the next clip I'm going to show you, thank God for Eugene Robinson on this panel, because he comes in and taps down a lot of those ridiculous points in a minute. But so there's more here. Joe Scarborough. As much as Feinstein has given to the Democratic Party, and they do that to her, politics is about representing your voters. If you are a conservative Democrat in California, as Dianne Feinstein is, I don't care if she gave a kidney to the Democratic Party. You have to vote for people that you think will better represent you, that will better represent your voters. Dianne Feinstein has been there forever, and that isn't my issue with her. My issue with her is that she hasn't moved with the times. She started there in 92, and she has stayed in that same headspace. She hasn't evolved on issues except for social issues. But when it comes to economic issues, or here's a whole host of other issues of why people don't like Dianne Feinstein. She's against limiting government spying. She's against limiting military spending. She's against Medicare for all. She's against minimum wage hikes. She's against campaign finance reform. She's against tuition-free college. She's against reining in Wall Street. These are the reasons why people are against Dianne Feinstein and want to see an actual progressive represent California. It's not because of identity politics, which doesn't even make any sense. And the last point that Joe Scarborough makes there, she tries to find common ground with Republicans. That's the problem. That's all the Democratic Party has done. All the Democratic Party does is compromise. They don't fight for anything. If you vote for somebody, you want them to fight for you on the issues that they promised to fight for you on. If all they're doing is compromising to right-wing positions, then what's the point? Why not just vote for a Republican and not for a Democrat? I don't understand. Their whole concept of like the purpose of politics or politicians, it's like it's a game to them. Like the Democratic Party is just they have to play nice because that's how you play the game. You play the game by compromise. How about the people that are hurting? How about the policies that people want to see, like a Medicare for all? Why doesn't that come up in the conversation? Why is it about her history, how much she's given to the Democratic Party? It doesn't matter. It matters what she does for people. She's a politician. That is what is most important. Now, let's get to the last clip here where Eugene Robinson thankfully comes in with some sanity.
At this point.
Well, you know, though, California is different from other Democratic states. All the states are different. I think that's not so much the issue as what you said earlier, the unifying message.
All right. I had to show you that because I wanted to be fair. There was somebody on the panel who was actually being sober in this discussion. Actually has some idea of what's going on. So at the beginning, Eugene Robinson was talking about how progressives are enthused to come out and vote, and that the Democratic Party has to find a way to continue to appeal to those people. And then at the end, he pushes back on the idea that Feinstein didn't get the endorsement from California Democrats because of identity politics. So at least there was a sobering voice on this panel. But overall, this segment shows you just how out of touch corporate media is with the vast amount of people. So Joe Scarborough can correctly point out what the problem with the Democrats is, finding a unifying message, but they'll never point out what the solution is, what that unifying message should be, which if you look at polling and just ask people, it would be higher wages and Medicare for all, and maybe important issues like getting big money out of politics, because big money directly affects how politicians act once they are in. But Morning Joe is never going to bring that up because they are part of that system. Segments like this just continue to display that corporate media exists in a bubble. Hey, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button below and consider throwing me a few bucks on Patreon at patreon.com/therationalnational or therationalnational.com/join.